I would just like to share a few remarks. And I'd like to say thank you, first off, to Motion Masters for creating this video and working with us so closely on some of the materials. We're going to play a shorter concluding version of this video after just some remarks about the foundation. And in fact, we'll bring around coffee service, and you'll get to watch the second half of the second part of the video while you have your dessert in a little bit. So please keep eating, and if you just don't mind hearing some remarks while you finish your meals. So there are a few things that I would like to share with you about the foundation. These are just a few things that we would like you to know. I'd like to talk a bit about our guiding principles. I'd like to talk a bit about our evolution, and I'd like to talk about some of our thoughts for the future. So first of all of the staff and all of the trustees today and those who have come before us know the codicil nearly by heart. We don't mandate this. It is just an interesting and natural aspect of the culture of the Benedum Foundation. For those of you who are unfamiliar with this, the fifth codicil is part of Michael Benedum's will that was written personally by him to lay out his values and essentially his philosophy on life. But it goes beyond that by grounding us in core values while also encouraging us to take risks that we hope will be meeting the moment. It's a really thoughtful and strikingly poetic piece that was progressive for the time in the 1940s, but it remains really progressive today. The codicil, as Michael Benedum was thinking about his own life, challenges us to reflect on a couple of important concepts. First, it's to think about, help, and never lose sight of those who have been given less in life. Secondly, it's really to take good care of children, all children, because it's a fundamental duty to see hope and opportunity in everyone. It's also to view one's life as a proving ground for testing character. And this is part of the journey of life for all of us. The codicil humbles us by acknowledging that luck drives so much of one's outcomes in life, and there is really no rhyme or reason to why some people have more luck than others. But he says, death is the common leveler of man, which takes prince and pauper alike to the democracy of the grave. And lastly, it does inspire us to think about wealth and worldly possessions as something that Providence has made us only trustees of in life. We view the codicil as our North Star. You will see more of this in the second part of the video. But it also reminds us that we need to seed change in the world because the material wealth of the foundation is not ours to guard so much as it is ours to employ in good faith with a mind towards helping people help themselves. The other thing you should know is that the foundation has changed its model pretty dramatically over the 80 years that we've been in existence. Trustees did all the work for almost the first 30 years. This includes Michael and Sarah Benedum. And family and trustee-based work is often the natural early evolution of family foundation structure. This is not to say those early years were slow, but quite the opposite. The Benedums were moving social issues, and they were meeting the time in bold ways. After World War II, the foundation was active in war recovery efforts, but it was also funding hospitals and health programs for women and children. And at that time, Pittsburgh had the highest rate of death for tuberculosis in the nation, and the foundation helped to found the Tuberculosis League in Pittsburgh. At that time, we did give a lot to poverty alleviation, and that's because there were very few social safety nets that even existed at that time. But As the 1960s were rolling around, the foundation really shifted into a significant period of funding institutions of higher education. We were funding scholarships, many of which were endowed for a very long time, and we were funding the built environment. At a time when far fewer people were attending college and federal student aid programs didn't really exist, Benedum was strategically helping to advance a whole generation of first-generation college graduates. The Benedum Scholars is still something that people are very familiar with to this day. But we were also aiding in the construction of so many buildings across West Virginia's system of higher education. And I'm so pleased that we have with us in this room today so many of the college and university presidents that we have worked with and had invested in heavily years ago. We have many representatives from Marshall, not President Smith, but we have President Gee and so many presidents from the other higher ed institutions from around the state. So basically, it wasn't until the 1970s that the foundation had any paid staff. What you see today is the latest iteration of a foundation that, as it grew, cultivated a small and specialized professional team. There are only 8 of us on staff at Benedum, and we are led by a highly devoted board of trustees, and there are only 7 of them. We have always been lean by design, and that will not change, because our goal is and always will be to spend as much as possible on grants and not spend it on overhead. Sounds like a grantee somewhere. So the last part of our evolution is really this shift over the past 30 years, which has been away from buildings and into the world of helping nonprofit organizations and local leaders advance whole systems of work through health education, community development, and economic development. At our 50th anniversary, we recognize the need to really establish the kind of partnerships that could last and seed change. Many of you that are in this room were part of partnerships that were built back then. In 2019, we doubled down on this concept, seeing our senior program officers as really trusted partners in the community who could use their skills to build new and special coalitions around some vexing social issues that we desperately wanted to impact. We funded these coalitions at the $1 million level and went on a terrific journey of impact and partnership. We are proud of these project teams because they were new in a way for us, and it allowed us to work slightly differently to advance these larger coalitions. We were calling these our 75th anniversary projects, and I'd like now for the catalytic teams that were part of that to please stand as I call out the area of work that you were helping us during those projects. We had rural broadband. You can just stay standing when you stand. Rural broadband, 3rd grade literacy, childhood nutrition and obesity, foster and kinship care, and advancing mid-level health professionals. There's many of them are over here. You guys are terrific. Thank you. You can read more about each of those in the back of your special report. There's a page on each to read a little bit more about them. Benedum grantees have exceeded our expectations over the years, and the leaders in this room have brought passion and a healthy desire to change West Virginia from every angle. And while Benedum does not spend admittedly, we do not spend much time on social media or press releases or parties or promotion. We are very lacking in that area. But we do spend a lot of time and money on partnerships that last for decades. Some of you in this room have been grantees of ours for 30 and even 40 years. And it takes a long time to scale programs and enact change. And beyond those grantees, I just want to recognize that there are leaders in this room, governors, congressmen, commissioners, secretaries of our state agencies, federal agencies that have been really, really essential partners to Benedum and our team. I'm looking down at the mansions right now, and it makes me just think how in their individual and combined capacities for, I think, Gail, we said 42 years, they have been a partner of Benedum, which means no matter where you are leading from, we have had partners that have been part of that. So just for the extended partners, thank you. The grantees who set up in the open area for the reception illustrate that all Benedum grantees are part of one big connected effort. The people that were in the reception are listed on the back of your program, so please do take a minute to look at them individually. But it's really remarkable. The food served during the reception was made by the Central Kitchen, doing groundbreaking work to develop nutritious recipes from scratch. Their own recipes from scratch that they are buying from local farms and providers. And that's going to feed our child care centers, our participating child care centers in really, really impactful ways. The music you heard from MCG Jazz, they came from Pittsburgh. Thank you so much to MCG Jazz. We all must recognize the importance of the arts, the importance of the creative power of music and the other arts and what that means and how we need to expose our children to as much of that as possible. Your table settings that are so modern and beautiful were made by the Coalfields team, which allowed us to not only see the lavender and the products that are made here, but support training programs. And the maple syrup, who didn't love all the maple products out there? Authentic Appalachia, Luke. Future generations, thank you. They even customized the label for us on those, thank you. There were just a lot of other take-home items, and many of the grantees that are out there are so valued. And then you got to see Attack Theater usher us all into dinner, also a Pittsburgh grantee. Thank you, Attack Theater. Woo! We are planning for no waste where possible in this event tonight. In fact, the items in the outdoor classroom that you came through will be shipped tonight to the champion child care centers around the state to incorporate into their classrooms. Dr. Jamie Jeffries and her team. Come on already with that classroom. So weaving through the reception venue and as you were entering and networking, you would see today our grants in education are about how children play and are curious before school until they get into really supportive school programs like you probably saw the program called Black Men Read, which we had from the Contemporary Arts partner that is essential to how we think about the classroom. Our grants in education go beyond the classroom, though, to healthy kids, which translates into better nutrition and better learning. And when we cook with healthy foods, we support local farms. That's the maple syrup and all the farm products. And we also support a culture of entrepreneurship and small business growth, which leads to job training and other skills for our fellow citizens. When we create these larger coalitions, like Act Now, we knit together the good work of many grantees, and all of the change that we seek rests on a society that helps bring people together and bring along those who are less fortunate. A society that is caring and civic-minded and values the arts. So thank you to the Showcase grantees. We really were so pleased that you could do this for us. I know you're dying to see the second half of the video, so I'm going to wind down here. If there's one thing I want to leave you with tonight, it is that Benedum is a relatively small foundation, but we feel so big in West Virginia. You treat us like we are huge because you just trust us so much with your ideas and your growth and your partnership. Benedum is granted roughly $600 million, and that's larger than our whole endowment, but the real story is that being 80 over time, in real dollars today, that's like you all being a $1.4 billion investment in ideas and work. So thank you for that. The trustees and the staff over these last couple of years have been thinking a lot about our history, and we appreciate that Benedum has changed its model and focused grant making over its history in order to meet the times. As we are rounding out this century and we are thinking about our anchoring to the codicil, we know we have to continue to be flexible and to be open to change to serve you best. We see ourselves as doing more strategic convening and taking more action to make the case for rural philanthropy. Our founder saw this as our mission. Michael Benedum was sensitive in the codicil that Pittsburgh had greater riches than West Virginia. He said that the disposition of his estate should be guided in good conscience by the greater needs of West Virginia. We are true to this, and we see success at Benedum from you every day. The apparent gap that remains is in the broader ecosystem of philanthropy that stands to grow in West Virginia. The dream we have for the future is to see many more Michael Benedums emerge, and this seems very likely. We have among us today many of the other great philanthropists in the state, and we want to thank you too for being extraordinary. A future in West Virginia where we have as many private family foundations to partner with in West Virginia as we have in Pittsburgh really would be a game changer. So if we can just take a moment to recognize that there are many philanthropists in this room among you at your tables. So we'll be bringing coffee around and inviting you to enjoy your desserts. I just want to say one closing thing, that when it comes to Benedum, we do feel like we are all equals in this story. Whether a friend, a project partner, a grantee, a trustee, or Benedum staff, past and present. We are a collective movement that really has only improved with age. And so thank you for joining us this evening. And please look around this room and appreciate that you have been part of a philanthropic heritage. Thank you.